Well, some of you were with us yesterday, and some of you were not with us yesterday. So a little review, mini review, for those of you who were not with us yesterday. We had a great time yesterday. I feel it was a very nice exchange with the devotees. Hearing about Radha's place in Vrindavan after she was so-called married to her so-called husband Abhimanyu, meaning, as we heard, Radharani's mother was Kirtida Sundari, and Kirtida's mother, or Radha's grandmother, was named Mukhara. And Mukhara knew, because we gave the examples of how she knew, that Kamsa had his eye on Radharani before she was married. And so Mukhara decided to protect her daughter, her granddaughter, to have her become married. So she considered and she consulted, and Purnamasi concurred that Radharani could marry Abhimanyu. So Radharani was born in Raval on the eastern side of the river Jamuna. After some time, when Krishna moved also, Vrishabhanu and Kirtida moved to the western side. She went to Varsana. From Varsana, she went to another place waiting for her marriage to occur. Then her marriage occurred where she lived in Yavat. So that's what we heard yesterday. Pastimes with Radha in Yavat. And we narrated one story that is one of 5 stories from a book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Charmatkar Chandrika. They're very detailed, they're very illuminating and very elevating and very sweet. So we heard the narration of this one where Krishna was in a box and was brought, instead of the jewels and other gifts that Mother Jasoda was planning to give to her beloved Radha, Krishna hid himself in the box. So we heard that narration. This occurred in Yavat. So another pastime described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as this Chamatkar Chandrika. It's very, he's wonderful, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. There was a circumstance. I'll narrate mostly and read a little bit from his writing. Jatila had become very disturbed. She was hearing all these reports that Krishna comes to meet with Radha, and Radha goes to meet Krishna, and this is very, very bad. I have to put a stop to it. The reason, one of the principal reasons that was like a good excuse, a really good excuse for Radha to leave her home to go cook for Krishna was something we heard yesterday. Durvasa Muni gave a benediction to Radha because she cooked so nicely for him and pleased him. You know, a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva. Durvasa Muni. That's a long history of how that happened. Partial incarnation of Lord Shiva. He, Durvasa Muni, gave the benediction directly to Radha, several things. Whatever she cooked, it would never taste the same. Everything she cooked, it would taste different. And anyone who ate her cooking they would have a long life, they would never have disease, and they would always be victorious in any of their undertakings, just by eating Radharani's cooking. So
I would give him a job. I'm just
so when um, Radharani told her mother, Kirtida and Yasoda were dear friends. She told Yasoda. Yasoda said, "Oh, Radha's a little girl. So can you have Krishna come, Yasoda, Radha, can you have Radha come and cook for Krishna every morning?" So from the time she was a little girl, that was something that started. And because Radharani went every day, went every day, went every day, there were meetings every day. We're going to hear later today. Right after breakfast that Radha cooked for Krishna, Radha would start to head back home, and Krishna would go out to herd the cows. But Krishna would take a little detour, and Radha would take a little detour, and they met for the first time every morning at 8 o'clock at a place called Gupta Kund at Vrindavan, which is right at the border of Vrindavan and Rajasthan. We're going to visit that place today. Hopefully, Krishna permits. And then throughout the day, they had times that they would meet. So she was too disturbing for Jatila. Who's Jatila? Jatila is the mother-in-law. Oh, mother-in-laws. Her so-called husband, Abhimanyu, had a sister, Kutila, and a mother, Jatila, and they're both mad. And they're both very protective of Radha. So Jatila had decided Radharani's not going to go cook for Krishna anymore. Not only that, I'm not going to let her out of the house. She liked worshiping Surya. I'm not going to let her go worship Surya. She likes worshiping Gory. I'm not going to go let her worship Gory. She's not going to go out of the house. And she blurted all this out to Kutila and asked Kutila to help her in her plot. And Kutila said, "This is not possible. How is it possible? What's the mother Jasoda going to say? If you want me to go to tell her, she's going to say, 'Oh, please don't do this. My son, there's so many risks, there's so many demons that come to harm him, but because of Radharani's cooking, he's protected.' And she'll say all these things. What do I say when she says all these things?" And Jatila says to her daughter, "Tell her, yes, your son is very dear to you, and Radharani is very dear to me. And anyone a married girl or even an unmarried girl that leaves her home every day and goes to cook for the same person every day, how is that, socially speaking? That's a big blemish on my most chaste daughter-in-law. And as you are very protective of your son, I'm very protective of my daughter-in-law. So I'll tell you what. You can tell her like this. You have an assistant, Danishta. Danishta, 3 times a day, can come to our home and bring some things, pick up some things that Radha has made for Krishna, and she can bring them to Krishna, but Radha's not going to go anywhere. Tell her that. I mean, there's more. Many of the details are just beautiful. I'd kind of itching to read it to you. It's so sweet, but that's the storyline. And so Kutila informs Mother Desoda. Mother Desoda is very unhappy, but what to do? She doesn't want to disrespect her daughter-in-law's mother. Excuse me, her dear Radha's mother-in-law. So she sends Dhanishta. And when Dhanishta comes, before Dhanishta comes, Radha has heard this pronouncement from her mother-in-law, and so she's dysfunctional. She's running a very, very high fever, and her friends gather some leaves of a lotus flower and petals and place sandalwood and camphor and lie Radharani down to cool her body. But that everything turns to ash immediately. Yes, let's gotta go back. So when Dhanishta comes to pick up some items that were cooked by Radha, to deliver that message to Radha, I'm going to take some things. She sees Radha's condition and she asks, what happened to her? Why is she in this condition? So Lalita says, oh, Dhanishta, will profuse rain fall from the cloud with combined lightning? Will there be no more a rising of the fresh, new Krishna rain cloud, inlaid with the creeper of Radha lightning? The intense drought due to lack of ecstatic liquid mellows, sprinkled by this cloud, has caused the crops of this girlfriend's bliss to wither and dry up into complete ruination. Poetic. And Tanishta concurs, this is very, very terrible. What to do? So she walks over to Radha and calls out, let's see. Hey, Radhe, your beloved Sri Krishna is just now standing right in front of you. Just open your eyes and look. Hearing Krishna's name mentioned, she opens her eyes. And then Dhanishta reveals the truth. Krishna is not able to eat properly unless he takes the food grains which are cooked by you. For this reason, Yashoda has sent me to you. Please make him some sweet balls with your own hand. So although her body has been burning from the fire of separation from Krishna, she somehow gets up and asks him, light the fire, and she becomes cool by cooking for Krishna. She makes this complete recovery just to do some service for Krishna. Then Lalita said, so it goes back and forth and back and forth. She, Dhanishta, takes the sweets. Radha whispers something to Lalita and then lies back down in a feverish condition. So that's the mood is now going to shift. Later on in the evening, Vishaka runs to Jatila, crying and rolling on the ground and throwing herself here and there. And Jatila says, Lalita, or Vishaka, what happened? What's wrong? And she says, unseen by others, a snake has bitten Srimati Radharani. Jatila, where? And how was she bitten? Vishaka says, she was out in the yard. She saw a wonderful jewel, and she reached down to pick up the jewel to give it to you and Abhimanyu, but it was the jewel on top of the hood of a cobra, and the cobra bit her by the base of a plum tree. And alas, alas, a thunderbolt has struck my head. Jatila ran to where Radharani was, saw her sprawled out on the ground, trembling and gasping for air. Jatila begins to beat herself, crying and sobbing. Then she called her dear daughter, Kutila, and frantically told Kutila, go to the cowshed, get Abhimanyu, bring him here, and after bringing him here, go fetch a snake bite doctor. By chanting of mantras, snake bite charmers, they know how to remove poison from a snake bite. Then she goes to Radharani. Dearest Radharani, do you feel all right? What a question to ask, right? Oh, respected superior, by the fire of the poison, my whole body feels as if I'm burning alive. This is all I know. I am not able to say anything more. But you should know that if any male doctor comes here and he were to set his hand as much on my toe, then I will give up my body that very instant. I am a chaste daughter. Therefore, my strict vow stands firm. Jatila pleading, oh, Radharani, if he knows how to remove the snake bite, please allow him to remove the snake bite. Radha replies, if you do this, then I will give up my body right now before your very eyes. Just you watch, but I'm not able to follow your order at all. Emphasizing her chastity. Hearing this statement, the old Jatila gets more perplexed. Change of scene. A neighbor comes. And the neighbor is told by Jatila what's wrong. Dear Jatila, there's someone here in Vraja. She's going to describe Krishna. There's someone here in Vraja who has chastised many powerful snakes in the past, like Kaliya, Aga, and others. When all the cows had died from drinking the poisoned waters of the Yamuna at Kaliyagrada, he enthused them with new life again, merely by his glance. This is Sri Hari. Just bring him here. Simply by his glance, he will release your daughter-in-law from the deadly poison. Radha puts her foot down. He whose torturous, controversial association is far worse for me than the snake poison. If anyone were to bring this Krishna here to see me, then that person is good as my lifelong enemy. Jatila starts pleading, oh, anything is going to work. Oh, dear daughter-in-law. But I will take Kutila quickly to Purnamasi. She's very skilled at so many mantras. She must know the mantras. So let's go immediately. And Lalita says, very good idea, very good idea, good plan. I'll stay here with Radha. Because the deadly effect may be postponed for an hour to an hour and a half, and after that, the poison will rise to her brain, and the effect will be incurable. I mean, it's all pretense. So they rush from Yavat to Nandagram. We showed yesterday, we'll see it again today. There's a map that shows the distance between Yavat and Nandagram. It's not far. So they went to Nandagram. And near Nandagram is the place where Purnamasi lives. It's on Nandagram's border. So they came before Purnamasi, paid their obeisances. They quickly explained everything that had taken place. And then Purnamasi asked Gargi. We met Gargi yesterday. Gargi is the daughter of Garga Muni. Garga Muni's daughter is Gargi. So Gargi is a Brahmana or Brahmani, and she has a close relationship with Purnamasi, who's also a Brahmani, but like the guru of all the residents of Vrindavan. So Purnamasi turns to Gargi and said, "Did your father ever teach you these mantras and procedures for anecdotes for snake bites?" And she said, "No, my father didn't teach me, but my little sister knows it very well. She's very, very skilled in this. And she's come from her mother-in-law's house in Benares. So her name is Vidyavali. Vidyavali. Vidyavali, it's Krishna. Vidyavali came from her mother-in-law's house in Benares. She's now residing at her father's house in Mathura. So Gargi and Vidyavali are sisters, daughters of Gargamuni, who lives in Mathura. Right? Gargamuni lives in Mathura. When the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram were performed, Gargamuni was the one, and he didn't stay in Mathura. He went to a cowshed not far away to do the name-giving ceremony. So his home is in Mathura. And she's in my house just around the corner right now, Gargi says. So Jatila was, let's see if your sister Vidyavali can cure the snake bite. So they go. Purnamasi's there. Purnamasi instructs Gargi, take Jatila and Kutila to Vidyavali's place, where she's staying at Gargi's home, and see if she's willing to do this. So there's like 3 phases of Vidyavali says no. I'll read it. It's very interesting. My dear little sister Vidyavali, you have certainly heard the name of Sri Vrishabhanu Nandini Radha, the greatly famous girl who is endowed with all good qualities within Braja. Today she has undergone a great calamity. Some jewel-decorated snake has bitten her. Right now, the snake's deadly poison is spreading throughout her body. For this reason, her mother-in-law has now come to see you along with her daughter. You should go at once to their house. That's Gargi speaking to her younger sister, who is Krishna. My dear older sister, Gargi, you are indeed very learned, yet now you speak just like an ignorant person. Alas! Alas! First of all, I am a pure, chaste girl. Secondly, being the daughter of a Brahmana, I have become a doctor specializing in treatment of poisons. No one on the earth is as aware of my glorious family lineage in Mathura or my famous in-laws' lineage in Benares. Still, you want to throw the mud of such scandalous, unchaste infamy all over my 2 pure dynasties? Radharani doesn't have a good reputation. Whatever kind of loving action it is that you are thinking you are doing, I'm not able to understand. Jatila starts crying. Oh, you're endowed with all good qualities for sure. Now I'm falling at your feet, my daughter-in-law, Radhika. Please save her. So then Vidyavali addresses Jatila. My dear old lady of Braja, you're not obviously aware of the elevated rules of conduct practiced by our pure Brahmana family. The learned, chaste daughters of a Brahmana caste never, ever wander from house to house like a simple cowherd girls do. Don't you know this already? By going to anyone and everyone's house, the superior aristocracy of the Brahmana's daughters is completely destroyed. And then Gargi, her sister, says many nice things about, don't you understand, you're learned, but don't you understand the merit of the residents of Vrindavan? They're the most exalted of all. She has many nice things to say about special, special, special quality. And whatever Brahmanas rules, they're subordinate to this elevated Vaishnava rules, and you should go at once. And Vidyavali replies, O most noble, educated sister, I am always surrendered to you, as you say, but I have just one terrible fear. And for this reason, I was at first unable to appreciate your request. When we were living in Mathura or Benares, we have heard so many rumors of the bold, powerful son of Nanda. He's bad. Who wanders about freely according to his own fanciful whims. He is an extremely perverted debauchee. Krishna speaking. And he has no fear of the Brahmana caste at all. If I am traveling on the footpaths and he looks at me the same way he looks at all the Vraja gopis, with that greedy, wanton stare, then I will instantly give up my life. I will never bring such a scandalous disgrace upon my two pure dynasties. Gargi says, no problem, I'll go with you. So there's an agreement. So Vidyavali, Gargi, Jatila, Kutila, they're on their journey back to Yavat to rescue the life of Radha. And while walking, Vidyavali asks Jatila, snake poison is destroyed by mantra and medicine. The mantra is simply my chewed betel leaves, which have been sanctified by the mantra. Oh, respectable superior, do you think your daughter-in-law will be able to chew that? Jatila, I never heard of anything like this before. Gargi defends and says, you don't understand. You don't consideration, regular rules are not to be considered in a circumstance like this. It's saving your daughter-in-law's life. That's what to be considered. So she didn't say yes, but that's the plan. So they reach Vidyavali, who is Krishna in disguise, sees the condition. Kutila, no, excuse me. Gargi. Gargi speaks words of appreciation of the snake bite cure person. This Vidyavali says mantras, and when you say, just like when you put tilak, Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Narayanaya Namaha, different names of the Supreme Lord. So saying snake bite mantras, touching parts of Radharani's body, and giving her chewed betel nut or betel leaves, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so Vidyavali says, it's not working. The poison is rising towards her brain. The lower portion of her body is okay. The upper portion of her body is now almost finished. So they have to do some emergency. I know some very special mantras, but you're all going to have to leave the room because they're secret mantras. And in 3 hours' time, I think that the snake bite will be cured. So they leave the room, and Krishna is having fun with Radharani. And Krishna then makes his voice sound like the voice of a snake. So they're on the other side of the door, hearing, after 3 hours, what Vidyavali is going to say to the snake. Vidyavali says, "My dear king of the snakes, from where have you come?" Snake, "From Mount Kailash." The hissing of a snake. "Under whose direction?" "I am carrying out the order of he who wears a crescent moon on his head, Lord Shiva." "What is his order?" "To bite the son of Jatila, Abhimanyu." "What is the offense committed by Abhimanyu?" "Nothing at all. But his mother, Jatila, has committed 2 grave offenses. Under Durvasa, the best of the sages." Vidyavali: "Then why didn't you bite the mother of Abhimanyu?" "I didn't bite her for biting her son. Instead, I would be able to burn her extremely miserable suffering and lamentation on the loss of her only son. This would be even greater burning than the poison itself." Vidyavali: "But you didn't bite Abhimanyu. Why did you bite Srimati Radharani?" Good answer. "By the power and influence of the boon of chastity given by the supremely pure Radharani by Durvasa Muni." So Abhimanyu's taken her food, Radharani's food. So I can't kill Abhimanyu, so I killed Radharani instead. Thus, by biting his dear wife, he would certainly die due to lack of life. That is why I have bitten her today, and tomorrow morning I will bite Abhimanyu anyway. In this way, Jatila will burn miserably. So what was the offense? That's what he wants to know. "O king of snakes, what were the 2 offenses? 2 offenses committed by Jatila under Durvasa, the best of the sages." Snake: "Durvas was born as a plenary portion of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva considers Lord Hari to be his own worshipable Lord. Lord Hari's plenary portion is Sri Krishna, against whom Jatila spoke some false, scandalous blasphemy." This was the first offense. The second offense was Jatila confined Radharani indoors, thus placing a deliberate obstacle in the way of Krishna's taking of regular meals. Due to these 2 grave offenses, may Jatila perpetually cry miserably here in Vraja, along with her daughter Kutila, over the loss of her dear son Abhimanyu and her dear daughter-in-law Srimati Radharani. So hearing this so-called conversation from the other side of the door, Jatila starts wailing. "Oh, my son! Oh, my daughter-in-law! The source of my very breath! May both of you live long lives. How can I hear of anything other than this? So Jatila calls through the door to Vidyavali. Oh, Vidyavali, I want to hold on to your feet. Please pacify the king of snakes somehow or other. I promise. This was the drama, is to get the promise. I will never, ever place any more obstacles before Srimati Radharani. I will personally see to it that she goes to Nandagram every day just to cook for Sri Krishna's meals. And when she returns home after finishing her cooking, then I will bow down and offer Durvasa Muni hundreds and hundreds of obeisances while praying, "Oh, best of the sages, please forgive my offense. On one side, my intelligence has become dull due to becoming senile in my old age. And on the other side, I am known to be quite crazy anyway. Therefore, please don't take my offense seriously. As long as my daughter, Kutila, is really dull-brained and foolish, she continuously causes trouble and pain for my well-behaved daughter-in-law for no good reason at all." And Kutila falls on the ground, offering obeisances unto the snake who is on the other side of the door. "Oh, King of Snakes, please forgive us. Please be merciful. Please don't bite my brother. This is Kutila, I will never again hinder Srimati Radharani. I will never ever argue with her. And from now on, I will allow her and her girlfriends to go anywhere and everywhere they like." Snake: "Oh, assembled witnesses, listen carefully to what I say. I swear by Lord Shiva that Srimati Radharani is supremely pure and chaste." And then he says to Jatila, "Oh, old woman Jatila, just as I've sworn by Shiva to attest the chastity of Sri Radha, in the same way I want you to swear upon the head of your own son Abhimanyu and say, 'Now I have complete, absolute faith in Srimati Radharani.' Then I will know that you have true convictions for my words." So she takes the oath. Then Snake to Jatila, "Now I have really become fully pleased with you. Just worship Durvasa, the best of sages, and prepare nice edibles. I will now remove all the poison from Radharani's body and go back to Mount Kailash. Hey, old woman, if you ever again charge your daughter-in-law with any kind of false accusation in relation to Sri Krishna and try to confine her as you have done today, then I won't be angry with you at all. I will simply come immediately and angrily bite both Radhika and Abhimanyu, completely destroying them simultaneously." Vidyavali then happily calls to the ladies outside in the next room, "Oh, dear friends, may all of you now achieve the topmost bliss. The king of snakes has removed the poison from Radha's body and it disappeared. Rishabhanu Nandini is now cured." So all's well that ends well, right? So there's more to the text, but it gives the understanding. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur calls it Krishna's pranks. And there's three more, and I'm not going to narrate any of the three more, but you can read them at your leisure. I'm going to discuss one of them. However, one of them is not from his writing, but it's from Vidagdha Madhava. This is our last story from Yavat. So what's Vidagdha Madhava? Rupa Goswami wrote 2 dramas about Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavan. Vidagdha Madhava is his pastimes in Vrindavan. And we heard yesterday, we're going to hear something more, Krishna's pastimes when leaving Vrindavan. And the painting that you see on the screen here, that's the palace that Radharani's father built for her at the time of her marriage. Because Rishabhanu was wealthy. And when his daughter became married, as a dowry, he built a palace. So this is an artist's rendering of the palace. And in front of the palace is Purnamasi and Brenda Devi having a conversation. And there's Radharani up in the upper floor. So the narration begins at Yavat, and Abhimanyu has become too disturbed hearing all these stories about Radharani meeting with Krishna, etc., etc. And so he's decided he's going to leave Vrindavan and go to Mathura. But he won't do that without the blessing of Purnamasi. So he goes to Purnamasi. And it's an event that just happened 2 days ago, Shravan Purnima. Interesting. And so he consults Purnamasi and says what he wants to do and why. And Purnamasi says, oh, Abhimanyu, these are just rumors and village talk. And long conversation back and forth, back and forth. And Purnamasi concludes, I'll tell you what, if you can catch them red-handed, then you can leave Vrindavan and go to Mathura. He thinks that's very reasonable. So now he has a second request. The second request is, could you teach Radharani how to worship Gory? Because I've heard from my friend Govardhan Malla that he's become rich because his wife Chandravali learned how to worship Gory, and now he's rich, and I want to become rich. So can you teach her how to worship Gory? And she says, yes, right away. I'll teach her how to worship Gory. So he goes back to his home, and he's very happy because where Purnamasi lives is on the boundaries of Nandagram, and from Yavat to Nandagram is not far. So he goes back, and Purnamasi is now being visited by Brenda Devi. And Brenda Devi comes to Purnamasi conveying a message from Krishna. The message from Krishna is he would like Purnamasi to arrange an opportunity for him, Krishna, to meet with Radharani. And she smiles, oh, on Shravan Purnima, this is very wonderful. How auspicious. And as they're having that discussion, who would come along but Lalita and Vishaka? So now the four are making a plan how Krishna and Radha will meet. And Lalita and Vishaka happen to mention that just today, Chandravali is going to be visiting her parents. She's with her in-laws, with her husband and her in-laws, and with her good friend Padma, she's going to go visit her father. And she'll pass by Gory Kund. How interesting. So they separate and they go their different ways, and the plan has been made. We'll hear the plan as we go along. Sure enough, Chandravali and Padma are traveling together to go see her in-laws, or see her parents from her in-laws' place. And as they were passing by, Krishna sees them coming. And when Krishna sees them coming, he starts some conversation with them, says some funny things. And Krishna tries to embrace Chandravali. Just as Krishna is trying to embrace Chandravali, Chandravali's grandmother comes along and catches them in the act. And she chastises Krishna badly, grabs Chandravali by the arm and takes her back to her husband's home. And Padma thinks that Lalita and Vishaka arranged this. She tipped off the grandmother they're going to meet. So she wants to get back. at Radharani. The plot thickens. So Radharani's making arrangements to go visit, to go to the Gory temple. Where's the Gory temple? Some of you have been to Vrindavan. Those of you that have been to Vrindavan, you've been to Govardhan Hill. And when you've been to Govardhan Hill, if you go along the west side of Govardhan Hill, about halfway up is the temple that's on top of the hill where the Gopal deity was put by Madhavendra Puri. It's called Gopal Raj Temple. Just at the base of that Gopal Raj Temple, there's a Sankarshan Kund dedicated to Sankarshan. Just across the Parikrama path on the other side is where Gory Kund is, and where the Gory temple was. It's not there now, but it's just a Gory Kund. So it gives you geographically where are we. So Radharani's on her way from Yavat to Gory Kund, where the Gory temple is. Krishna knows that she's going to go there, and so Krishna stops her. And they have some conversation, kind of like, left wing. Radharani says, some strong things, and Krishna says some strong things. Deliberately, Krishna addresses Radharani as Chandravali, so that she'll become very angry. And in a huff, off Radharani goes. And it was done on purpose. It's for a change of scene. So Act 1, Scene 3 is right at the right time. Brenda Devi comes along. Brenda Devi is Purnamasi's main assistant. She's the CEO of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Purnamasi makes the plan. Vrinda executes the plan. Chief executive, Brenda Devi. And as you see, she has a parrot on her left hand. That parrot has a name. This is described in many places. That parrot's name is Daksha. And Brenda Devi passes on messages from Purnamasi to Daksha. Daksha, listen to the number, 100,000 parrots assisting Daksha to carry messages all over Vrindavan to coordinate the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So Brenda Devi comes along and Krishna makes a request. Can you arrange a Gory costume for me? When we're going to visit Vrindakund, time permitting, and she has storerooms all over Braja, all over the forest of Braja. She has many, many, many. And so she went to one of those storerooms. She got a Gory costume. Gory is golden in color. Krishna is blackish in color, so it had to be a costume. And Krishna, in his Gory costume, went to the Gory temple. And he stood in front of the Gory deity as if Gory personified has now come out of the deity and is standing before Radharani as Radharani is worshipping Gory. Now, Padma, as I mentioned, she was convinced that Lalita is the one who tipped off Chandravali's grandmother to interrupt Krishna's meeting with Chandravali. So Padma goes to Jatila and tells Jatila, Krishna is going to be meeting with Radharani at Gory temple. You should go immediately and catch him. Stop them. So she thanks Padma, gets Abhimanyu, and together they go to Gory temple to catch them red-handed, because Purnamasi said, if you catch them red-handed, you can leave. It's not just rumor. So off they go. And sure enough, there's Krishna in the disguise of the Gory deity, standing in front of the Gory deity, and Radharani's worshipping Krishna. And Abhimanyu says, aha, I caught you. You're in big trouble now. And, Lalita says, what are you talking about? You're a crazy person. And the Gory deity Krishna, in his Gory deity costume, says, "Oh, Radha, do not make such a difficult request." So the conversation goes on and on. Abhimanyu still thinks, Radharani is up to no good. She has this suspicion because that's what he wants to leave his home. He's in a palace, but he wants to leave and go to Mathura. So conversation back and forth. Gory is asked, what was it that you don't want to tell Radharani? Oh, brave Abhimanyu, Radha is requesting for the removal of a great disaster which is sitting on your head. She's your beloved, faithful wife. She wants the removal of a disaster that's sitting on your head. What's the disaster? He says it's too difficult to say. I don't want to say it. Brenda Devi, you say it. Brenda Devi says, Abhimanyu, the day after tomorrow, King Kamsa is going to cut off your head and offer it to Lord Shiva. Brenda Devi says, oh no, please do something, Gory, please do something. Radharani's making this appeal, please do what Radharani's asking. Gory Devi says, oh Radha, I do not take much interest in the prayers of the sages and yogis, but the rope of devotion with which you have bound me forces me to bless you. But on one condition, you must never leave Braja and always render service unto me. So profusely, Abhimanyu, oh, we'll never leave Braja and she can always come and worship you. And I'll get rich too. That's a good plan. So here's a close-up of the same painting. There's Purnamasi, not Purnamasi. In the middle is Jatila. There's Krishna, who's now stepped out from the deity because there's the deity in the back. And there's Madhumangal down in the front with his bowl of ladus. And Abhimanyu goes back to his home in Yavat with Jatila, making their plan, cancel all the plans, no visits, no moving to Mathura, we're staying. This is very merciful. Radharani's going to worship Gory and I'll become rich. And the way the pastime winds up, Purnamasi then comes. And Krishna, before Abhimanyu goes, Brenda Devi says, that man who wrongly accuses a chaste wife of infidelity will cut short his lifespan. Gory Devi declared that was the reason that Kamsa was going to cut off your head, because you've accused your wife of something bad, so your lifespan is now cut by that abuse. And, O most fortunate Abhimanyu, Radha is the source of your good fortune. Do not mistrust her. We read that. Oh, goddess, Subal. We heard this yesterday. Subal sometimes dresses up like Radha and jokes with my jealous, envious mother. So they depart. And Krishna says, Radha's great fear has been removed, and the disturbance in her mind has been destroyed. The Sakis have attained great bliss. Now how may I serve you? Saying to Purnamasi. And the end of the pastime from Vidagdha Madhava. I personally am fully happy, but still I have two requests. Please always enjoy in the kunjas of Vrindavan with Radha, and any devotee in whose ear a small drop of this nectarian pastime enters, let him attain a loving affection to your lotus feet, just like Radharani's. So that's our visit to Yavat. So where is Yavat? Let's go back to the map. I think we'll do that. I think we can see on the map where Yavat is. There it is. Okay, there's a map of Brajamandala. And going north and south is Govardhan Hill. You see that lower arrow is pointing to the top where Radhakund is. The other arrow is pointing to where Nandagram is. And now they're going to get a vertical arrow pointing to where Yavat is. So Yavat and Nandagram are not far away from one another. And directly in between the two is Ter Kadamba. Ter Kadamba is a meeting place for Radha and Krishna, and it's many other things. We'll go there. So now we're going to go to Ter Kadamba, and let's exit this one and go to Ter Kadamba. Okay, this is our beginning slide for today. Although we're going to visit Ter Kadamba, and very near to Ter Kadamba is the Bhajan Kutir of Sanatan Goswami and the Kinchana Das Babaji. So, this also shows the meeting place of Radha and Krishna. There's the two places. There's Yavat, and it's in between the two, Nandagram and Yavat. On the left is a photograph of a Kadamba tree, and on the right side is the Kadamba flowers. Kadamba flowers don't look like ordinary flowers. They're round like a golf ball, or they're different sizes and different colors, and very fragrant, but they don't look like an ordinary flower. And the Ter Kadamba place today, when you go there, it's a grove of Kadamba trees. And now there's also some other very, very old, very interesting looking trees. That during the time of Krishna, that there were many, many more Kadamba trees. And here's the entrance to Ter Kadamba. It's, this is a new addition. Before it didn't have all this. But when you go inside, look in the very far back, you'll see a temple. And above the temple, there's a brass plaque. Within the temple area, there's a painting where normally there's deities of Krishna Balaram, but when we visit, they bring the deities of Krishna Balaram out. We'll see them shortly. But I'm drawing your attention to the plaque that's above. It's a brass plaque in Sanskrit, and here's what it says. It's a poem or a prayer to Rupa Goswami by Raghunath Das Goswami. And this one is from Danakeli Chintamani. It's a book that Raghunath Das wrote about the tax pastime, taxing of Radha and Krishna. And Adadanas Dantire Idam Yache Punak Srimad Rupa Padamboja Rajo Hum Syam Bave Bave. Taking a blade of grass between my teeth, I repeatedly beg that birth after birth I may obtain the dust of Srila Rupa Goswami's lotus feet. This is Rupa Goswami, who is the guru that taught us the science of bhakti, being honored by the one who is the guru that teaches us the way of prayojana, perfection. Raghunath Das Goswami is the prayojana guru. He teaches and exemplifies the life of spiritual perfection. He's looking up to Rupa Goswami in this way. And it's not only once, it's in another book, it has almost the same Sanskrit. It's just the last line is different. Srimad Rupa Padamboja Duli Syam Janma Janmani. He just wants the dust from Rupa Goswami's lotus feet. Here's a close-up of the Krishna Balaram deities that are normally on the altar. And when guests come, they place the deities on this smaller altar on the side. Here's a close-up of the deities seated on that smaller altar. when you go inside this structure at Ter Kadamba, these are what the trees look like. Very interesting. There is a place for sitting, but the trees are very, very old and they look like this. There's many of them. And the sadhu is a very modern sadhu. He's got a nice speaking system there, tapped to his forehead. And he's very funny, and he likes to do a drama and engage the pilgrims that come. And it's nice. I don't know if we're going to have time when we go there because you got a tight schedule. Now, Ter in the Ter Kadamba means call. So what Krishna would do is at the end of the day, when herding the cows, because Ter Kadamba is very near where the Goshal at Nandagram was, he would climb up the tree and call with his flute, not just play musical notes, but he would call the names of the groups of cows, because Nanda Maharaj had a lot of cows, 900,000. So they were in groups, and he would call the names of the groups. And when they would expectantly wait to hear Krishna call, very nice. The ears would go up, their tails would raise in the air, they were in ecstasy, and all together they would respond, ooh, and go to the Goshal. And if there was a cow that was missing, Krishna would call the name of the cow with his flute. So that was one of the calls. Another, in the evening time, he would climb up a kadamba tree and call the gopis to come join him for their evening pastimes together. Ter Kadamba. And here is Rupa Goswami sitting underneath a kadamba tree, and as he was writing underneath the kadamba tree, it's consistently said, when he would write something that was very sad, like a mood of separation of Radha and Krishna, the leaves of the tree would all fall to the ground. His mood was so intense. And then later he would be writing something that was very joyful, and immediately the leaves would sprout and the kadamba flowers would blossom. So his mood affected even the trees. There's a special pastime where on the occasion of his brother's birthday, Sanatana Goswami's birthday, he was writing and remembered it was his brother's birthday, and he wanted to do something for his brother. He didn't do anything, he just had a desire. And sure enough, the desire was fulfilled. The desire was fulfilled by one village girl came walking down the path leading to Ter Kadamba and said, "The ladies of our village have sent me here. There was a wedding in our village, and they know that today is your brother's birthday. So they sent me with ingredients so you can make some sweet rice for your brother on his birthday. And there's milk and sugar and rice and ghee and camphor and saffron. And one version of the story is it was already made sweet rice with all those ingredients. But in any case, he was very appreciative. Oh, how nice. And so the sweet rice was prepared and offered to Krishna. And he took the sweet rice to his brother. Now, where was his brother? At this particular time, Sanatana Goswami had a bhajan kutir by the bank of Pavan sarovar. We're going to visit Pavan sarovar. Pavan sarovar is at the base of Nandagram. It's very beautiful. You'll see the pictures shortly. And he, Sanatana Goswami, wanted to have a quiet place. At that time, it was more foresty and jungly and very quiet, where he could just be in seclusion and just do his bhajan there. So Rupa Goswami took the sweet rice to visit his brother. It's maybe a mile away by walking from Ter Kadamba. And he brought the sweet rice to his brother. And when his brother started appreciating, oh, this is really very kind of you, thank you. And he started tasting the sweet rice. and it was ambrosial. I said, where'd you get the ingredients out here in the wilderness? He said, oh, in a village not far away, there was a wedding, and one girl came and brought these ingredients for me to make some sweet rice for you. And Sanatana Goswami looked at him and said, I know all the families in this area, and there's no wedding in this area. Could you describe the village girl that brought these ingredients to you? And as he was describing, it was very clear it was Radharani. Radharani personally brought the ingredients to reciprocate with Rupa Goswami's love for his brother Sanatana Goswami. So Sanatana Goswami said, oh no, this is terrible. We're meant to serve Radharani, and here we are. You're engaging me in taking service from Radharani. This is terrible. But the sweet rice is so good. Here, try some. And they, in ecstasy, finished the sweet rice. Now, where that place is today is much more developed than it was even 5 years ago, what to speak of during Rupa and Sanatana Goswami's time. There's a gate to enter into his bhajan kutir. Standing in front, you recognize the person standing in front. That's our Dinabandhu. We can say Sri Dinabandhu, but it's even our Dinabandhu. And on the other side of that gate, one can look down into where his bhajan kutir is. I mean, it certainly didn't look like this during his time, but that's his sitting place. And inside that gate, there's two entrances. You see two domes, because on one of the domes on the other side is the Akinchana Das Babaji's bhajan kutir. Here's the sitting place of Sanatana Goswami. Next to that is the bhajan kutir of Akinchana Das Babaji. Akinchana Das Babaji, who's he? Akinchana Das Babaji was a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta, and he was a celebrated personality who loved chanting the holy name. And we're going to hear some glorification by Akinchana Das Babaji in the next couple of days. So you'll see his photograph again. Celebrated person who liked chanting, and he selected that place where Sanatana Goswami had his bhajan kutir, and they're right next to each other. And both of them are on the bank of Pavan sarovar. And Pavan sarovar got its name here from Mathura Mahatmya. That's a section of Padma Purana that says, one who bathes in Pavan lake by Nandishwara hill will see Krishna there, along with Nanda and Yashoda, and all his desires will be fulfilled. Let's hope they're spiritual desires. Pavan sarovar, beautiful, huh? See the domes on the right side? Those are the bhajan kutirs. And it is said that the Pavan sarovar was constructed by Vishaka's father, whose name was Pavana Gopa. No, Pavana sarovar. It is very large. It's a place where every morning Krishna and Nanda Maharaj would come and take their morning bath. And on another side was where Yasoda and the ladies would take their bath. Sometimes Krishna and the gopis would come there for their bathing. Krishna would swim underwater and pull the leg of somebody who was standing by playfully. There's a well that every morning when Radharani would do her cooking, one of the gopis would come and draw water for her cooking in the kitchen that was up on the hill. You see on the left side, there's a yellowish building. That's a temple. It's Pavan Bihari Temple. Inside, here's the deities, Radha, Pavana Bihari. And here's a close-up of Pavana Bihari. It's 7:45. I gotta talk fast. There's so many nice things to say. There's a wonderful, wonderful, triple wonderful story about Nanda Maharaj hearing a katha about the glories of the Ganges. He was hearing a katha, and it was said that one bird had grabbed a serpent to take away and was flying in the air, but the tail of the serpent touched the Ganga, and immediately the serpent transformed into a four-armed, celebrated resident of Vaikuntha, and Vamana came and descended to take him away to Vaikuntha. So Nanda Maharaj became very enthused. I want to go to take bath in the Ganga. So he requested Yasoda to prepare ingredients so he could make the journey with some friends. And Krishna, Gopal, saw his mother preparing something. She asked him, "What's this?" It's not as sweet by telling it fast, but because of time, it's if she said, "Your father is going to visit the Ganga. He wants to have the experience of the purification of going and taking his sacred bath in the Ganga. So I'm preparing ingredients for him for the journey. That he'll be okay in the course of all that travel." So Gopal went to Nanda and said, "Today is not an auspicious day. You should go tomorrow, because tomorrow is a Purnima day, the very auspicious day. You can start your journey tomorrow." So Nanda smiled and said, "Okay, we'll make the journey starting tomorrow." So the next morning, Nanda Maharaj went to take his bath in Pavan sarovar, and he saw something he had never seen before. Because he lived there, he never saw it before. On the other side, there was a majestic-looking person who came and was taking his bath in Pavan sarovar, and after taking bath, he'd roll on the ground and call out loudly, and then go back into Pavan sarovar and roll around on the ground and calling out loud sounds. So Nanda Maharaj went up to the man and asked him, "Excuse me, but I've never seen you here before. Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Pavanaraj." Excuse me. That's the name. Prayag Tirtha. Prayag Tirtha. Prayag Raj. That's it. Prayag Raj. Oh? And what brings you here? He said, in Prayag, so many persons come and, what's the right word? Deposit their sins in the sacred waters. So I come here once a year for purification, to take my sacred bath. I'm looking for the day of the year that he comes. There's a page that's missing, wouldn't you know? Oh, there we go. So somebody was being very helpful in making this bound thing, but they put the message on the wrong page. So then he saw over on the other side, there's a bunch of ladies. They're also majestically, attired, and they were doing the same thing, taking their bath in Pavan sarovar on the sacred day. What I can't find what the sacred day was. A Purnima day. They come once a year. So then he asked, "Who are they?" And I am Ganga. I'm Saraswati. I'm Godavari. I am all the Kaveri, Narmada. The same people deposit their sins in these sacred rivers, so they come to Pavan sarovar to relieve themselves of the sins. that the pilgrims deposit in their sacred waters. They come in their personified forms. So Nanda Maharaj said, "Oh," and then he went and told Mother Yasoda, "I'm canceling the trip to Prayag." Why is that? Because they come here for purification, and I'm here every day, so I don't need to go anywhere. More sacred than the Ganges, in other words. Prayagraj. Here's some nice photographs of Nandagaon. Nandagram, commonly in English, but local language is Nandagaon. And we'll see some photos of How Balau and Asheshavat. So here's Nandagram with agricultural land surrounding it. On the other side is, of course, Pavan sarovar. And there's some message about how the travels that Krishna made in his time in Vrindavan. So he was born in the prison house of Kamsa in Mathura. And from the prison house of Kamsa in Mathura, he went to he went to Gokul. And from Gokul, at 3 years, 4 months, everyone decided, let's leave Gokul, too many demons coming, etc. So they went to Chatikar. And then from Chatikar, they went back to Nandagram. So there's Nandagram up on a hill. And here's what it looks like from a close photograph. This particular structure was built in the late 1500s. It's a very nicely done work. You see the place where there's like a kirtan hall, and you see the dome, that's where the deities are. It's said the deities were found by Sanatana Goswami because Krishna appeared to him and indicated that his deity form was in a cave. So Sanatana Goswami took some people with him, and sure enough, in the cave, there was this deity of Nanda, Yasoda, and Krishna and Balaram. Now, extra deities were added. The deity on the left side, as you see, it's Radharani. And at her feet, there's Rohini and Revati. That's Balaram's wife and mother. On the other side, it's Sudama and Madhumangal. And here's the central altar. Krishna and Balaram, both of them blackish form, both of them holding a flute. That's both of them with peacock feathers, but that's how they have them dressed. Here's the same altar on a different day. And over by the side, not at this temple, but over by the side, there's another altar where there's a deity of Lord Shiva. And there's a story I'll tell you shortly, but where Lord Shiva came to have darshan of Krishna and to get the remnants of Krishna's food. So in honor of that pastime, which I'll narrate shortly, it's been for the longest time the practice that after everything is offered to Krishna and Balaram and Yasoda and Nanda, the remnants are taken to Lord Shiva and offered to him there. He's also understood as the protector, Nandeshwara Mahadev, protect Nandagam, and he also received Krishna's remnants. At the back side, the opposite side of where the Pavan sarovar is, there's a little sitting place where Nanda would go and hold discussions with village elders. And one time in that Nanda Vaitak area, Upananda started chastising his younger brother. Upananda there were 5 brothers. Upananda, Sunanda, and Nanda was the middle one. And then there's 2 other Nandas. And Upananda was scolding Nanda for treating Krishna like he's an ordinary person. He's not an ordinary person. You shouldn't treat him like this. It's a nice pastime. Dinabandhu loves telling this pastime. He starts laughing and laughing and laughing. Nanda Maharaj starts saying, you think he's not an ordinary person? When there's thunder and lightning in the sky, he hides. He comes under my dhoti and hides. When he can't get fed on time, he throws a tantrum and pouts. And he describes some of his behaviors, and Nanda just laughed it off. He's not an ordinary human child. How can you think like this? Because Nanda can only see the intimate feature of Krishna and Krishna's activities. And one time, you know the How Balau, some of you I'm sure know the How Balau story. One time, Yasoda and Rohini were preparing lunch. And Mother Yasoda sent Rohini, go bring the boys so they can have their lunch. The Rohini went to ask Krishna and Balaram to come for lunch, but they were too busy playing. They just didn't even pay attention to her. They didn't even acknowledge that she was there. So she went back and said, I think I'll finish the cooking. I think you better go. Maybe they'll listen to you. So she went, and she was a little more, strong. But the boys with Krishna said, look, if you leave, we're not going to play with you anymore. We're having too much fun. You just ignore her. So she got the message. And so she said a lie. She said, oh, look out. Here comes the How Balau. And Krishna looked at her and said, what's How Balau? Oh, he's very fierce, furry, and big teeth and sharp claws, and he eats little children. And she started running. And they, looking around, they didn't see any How Balau, but they saw Mother Yasoda running, so they followed behind her and had their lunch. A few days later, Krishna came and told Mother Yasoda, boy, we are really lucky. The How Balau came and almost tried to eat us up, but we ran faster than How Balau. And Mother Yasoda said, Gopal, I just made it up. There's no such thing as How Balau. He said, my mother never tells a lie. Give me your hand and I'll take you there and we'll show you the How Balau. And so there are now some deities, or not deities, but some stone carvings. There used to be 5 of them, and somebody helped themselves to 4 of them. Here's the back side. From above, there's one partial of How Balau left. And you're commemorating the place where this pastime took place at Nandagram. Now, if you look across the field from Ter Kadamba, you'll see off in the distance 2 domes in between and some tall trees and an agricultural field in between. So what's over there is that a temple of Lord Shiva. The temple of Lord Shiva commemorates this pastime that I was going to describe to you. Lord Shiva heard that Krishna is performing his childhood pastimes in Vrindavan, and he is staying at Nandagram. So Lord Shiva came with serpents around his neck and his skull necklace and his trident and ashen covered with ashes, and he came to see Krishna. And Mother Yasoda didn't want a scary-looking guy like this to come see Krishna, so she told him to go away. And Krishna started to cry. And uncontrollable crying, she didn't know what to do. She got doctors, nothing worked. Then she considered, maybe it's because I made an offense to the sadhu. He looked so strange. But maybe that's the reason. See if you can find that sadhu and bring him here. So they brought Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was brought before, Krishna was brought before Lord Shiva, and Krishna was very happy. So they asked him, what is it that you would like? He said, I just wanted to see and take the remnants that's offered to Krishna. So that temple of Lord Shiva at the top of the hill is where the remnants of the deities are presented. And in the area down below the hill, this is another temple where we're looking from the backside so we can see all the devotees taking their pictures and everything. And here's from the front side. There's Nandi and there's Ganesh, etc., Parvati, Kartikeya, and Shivalinga. In addition, there's another little temple with a small dome to the side, and inside is a deity of Narada in a gopi form, known, excuse me, Lord Shiva in a gopi form. So she or he is Gopeshwara Mahadev. And because Lord Shiva, in addition to wanting to take the remnants of Krishna's food, he wanted to participate or at least see his Rasalila pastime. But he was told you cannot participate in the Rasalila pastime without having a female form, having a gopi form. So Brenda Devi, this is from Garga Samhita, Brenda Devi took Lord Shiva to bathe in the waters of Manasarovara in Vrindavan, and he came out in the form of a beautiful gopi. So then Brenda Devi took Shiva Gopi to, or Shiva in her gopi form, to the Rasa Stali area, and she was very big. And Krishna smiled, said, who's this? And Brenda Devi said, it's a new gopi, she'd like to participate. So in your pastime, he said, I think she'd be very good at keeping people away that are not qualified to enter the pastime. So this is a painting showing that. And this is by the side of Nandagram, and many of you who have been to Vrindavan know there's another celebrated place, Vangshivat. And this is a carving at Vangshivat where Lord Shiva is in a gopi form and protecting the Rasastali, the pastime place. And there's another nice painting of, or Murti actually, three-dimensional Murti of Lord Shiva in a gopi form. And last, it's only 8 o'clock, we're going to visit Brinda Kund. And there's so much to say about Brenda Devi. We'll start with looking at the structure that Dina Bandhu raised the funds for and oversaw the construction of. I remember when it was like nothing. And slowly it became something. Now it's quite beautiful. At the Kund, here's Vrinda Devi, deity. This is the original Vrinda Devi deity that was there at the time. All the deities of Vrindavan were there. Vajranabha, time, all of that. Notice in her left hand, there's the parrot, the celebrated Daksha, and with many other parrots in the backdrop. Here's another photo of the deity. Now, Vrinda Devi and Purnamasi are the ones that arrange Krishna's pastimes, as mentioned. Purnamasi is Yogamaya personified. And she knows exactly everything. She arranges everything, or sanctions everything. And Brenda Devi is the main person that sees to all these things happening. And there's many nice verses. I think I'll read some of the verses. They're really nice. Describing what she does. Here's what Bhakti Ratnakar says. We're used to hearing Yogamaya, but there's also another term, Leela Shakti, that they're quite similar, but they're not identical. So Brenda Devi is the Leela Shakti, and Purnamasi is the Yogamaya. They're companions. So every morning they get together and make the plan for Krishna's pastimes. And there's two special parrots amongst the many 100,000 parrots. They're especially spy parrots. They check on what Chandravali's doing and they check on what Jatila's doing. And they bring the message back, and then they make countermeasures to take care of whatever they're up to. They don't have Google groups and text messages and things. They have parents. I'd like to read. Brenda Devi makes elaborate arrangements for appropriate forest spot for their pastimes, specific trees, creepers, fruits, flowers, birds, and other animals. Musical instruments and people to play the musical instruments, fragrances, songs, unlimited numbers of gopis and manjaris that assist through Lalita and Vishakha. She has storage places throughout all of Vrindavan where she has sandalwood pulp and camphor and refreshments and chamaras and you name it. Every single detail of each and every one of Radha and Krishna's eightfold daily pastimes, which peacocks are going to dance, which bumblebees are going to hum, which parrots and kokilas will sing, which breezes will blow. She's the CEO. And everyone respects her. So she's a very, very powerful lady, and there's a very important service to do. There's a little section here where, Chandravali is the daughter of Chandrabhanu. Chandrabhanu is one of 5 brothers. Vrishabhanu is the elder brother. So Vrishabhanu is the father of Radha, and Chandrabhanu is the father of Chandravali. So they're actually cousins, but they're also rivals. So she's considered a rival, but as a rival, she has a very important role to play, and that's increasing the obstacles for Krishna, and then his overcoming obstacles. But in the yesterday we heard this very detailed verification of the fact. I don't go through it again, but it's really nice. Each of the gopis have their spiritual counterparts as queens in Vrindavan, queens in Dwarka. Radha has 3 main expansions. The Lakshmis in Vaikuntha, they're Radha's expansions. Each of the gopis, they're Radha's expansions. Radha has unlimited qualities. Each of the gopis has some of her qualities, and they assist her in specific orchestrated ways. But altogether, they're her expansions. And the queens of Dwarka are expansions of the gopis. I find that amazing. But the relationship. So there's Swakiya and Parakiya. What's that mean? Swakiya is love in marriage, and Parakiya is love outside of marriage. Within Krishna is everything. So within Krishna is both kinds of love. And the outside of marriage relationship is there with the gopis, but the gopis wish to have Krishna as their husband, And so they expand themselves, or there's their spiritual counterparts. What we heard, I'll say it, this is in Lalita Madhava. Rupa Goswami writes, somebody is saying this, that Narakasura had a fascination, attraction for the beautiful gopis. So he came and kidnapped them, 16,100 of them, and put them in a prison, made up a lie that they were actually princesses, but they were gopis. But Krishna knew, and they wanted to marry Krishna. So when Krishna killed Narakasura, they wanted Krishna as their husband. He married them all. But they were gopis, or expansions of the gopis. It's really it's a new one for me, but it makes sense on the other hand. So, Brenda Devi has many, many nice services. I'm just going to read. After breakfast, I mentioned this already, Krishna goes to herd the cows. Radharani's going back to Yavat. But the first thing they do at 8 a.m. is they meet at Gupta Kund. Gupta Kund, Gupta means hidden. It's not, there's no Kund where Gupta Kund is, but it's a now hidden place. And the two of them would meet. That was their first meeting place at 8 a.m. And from that point, from that place, Vrinda would secretly meet with them and describe, what the plan was for the day. Vrinda is responsible for waking up Radha and Krishna while they're resting in forest kunjas. She hurries the divine couple to their homes in Nanda and Yavat before the sunrise and before their superiors detect their absence. On Radha's behalf, Brenda Devi delivers love notes and handmade gifts, flower earrings, and garlands to Krishna. Vrinda arranges all the paraphernalia used in Radha Krishna's pastimes. She provides all the swings, musical instruments, water syringes, and colors for squirting, clothing, ornaments, and variety of food and drinks. Together with her many maidservants, Brenda Devi, using artistic craftsmanship, tastefully decorates the groves and bowers where Radha and Krishna sport. From morning until evening, she's busy, assisting the divine couple in their pastimes. She's Leela Shakti personified. She's, 24/7. and very, very intimate kinds of service. Here's a detail. Another famous and respected gopi messenger in Braja is Veera. Now she has a different personality, bold and arrogant. She can also speak sweet and flattering words. Her complexion is dark. She wears splendid white garments and various jewels and other flowered garlands. Veera resides at Gupta Kund, which is right behind Vrindakund. And, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes. So they work together, Veera and Brinda. She's like her right arm. And she's a very special personality. Now, here's a detail that when the Jai Singh wanted to take the deities of the Goswamis from Vrindavan for protection to Jaipur, they were placed on bullock carts and they traveled at night. So they, wouldn't be seen. One time, as they were reaching the very edge of Vrindavan, just on the opposite side is where Rajasthan begins. when it was time to move the bullock carts, all the bullock carts moved except Brenda Devi's. And they tried this and that and the other thing, and Brenda Devi wouldn't leave because she doesn't leave Vrindavan. And so from that time, Brenda Devi was being worshipped by a Brahmana who had children, and that line of families from that time until just recently, that family was worshipping the deities in this secluded, hidden place. Dinabandhu came to make the acquaintance of this pujari, and he didn't have children, so he trusted Dinabandhu and gave the original Brenda deity to Dinabandhu to look after. And that's where he built this temple and likes taking people there and so forth. So she's very dedicated to Vrindavan. There's a relationship, quickly, there's a relationship between Vrinda and Tulsi. Vrindaya Tulsi Devai Priyaya Kesavashacha. So Vrinda Devi can also be known as Tulsi Devi. So there's this description where, appreciating the intimacy and kindness of Vrinda Devi, Radharani wanted to do something for her. So she decided in fun that they would have a marriage, that Vrinda Devi would marry Krishna in like a child play thing. So they all thought that would be a fantastic plan to reciprocate with Vrinda Devi. So they made a big throne, big enough for two to sit on, and Vishaka sat Krishna next to Vrinda Devi, and then full of laughter, Valita played the part of a priest, and Lalita was chanting the mantras. And Radha exchanged the garlands. And everything was fine because they were laughing and giggling and having fun. But then when they tied the cloth together, that's when Vrinda Devi panicked. Said, "Uh-oh, this is a marriage." And so she got up and tried to run, but she couldn't run because their cloth was tied. And the girls clapped and laughed. And so it's a Vrinda Devi. This is our Vaishnava picture of Vrinda Devi and Krishna married. The other one I don't like very much at all. There's a nice painting of Vrinda Devi with her parrots. And there's a close-up of the Vrinda Devi deity. And I think I'll end there. So what we've done in the past 2 days, just going from east to west, we visited Yavat, and then going a little further west, in between Nandagram and Yavat is Ter Kadamba. And then north of Nandagram is Pavan sarovar, and by the side of Pavan sarovar is where Sanatan Goswami and Kinchandas Babaji's Bhajan Kutir are. On the opposite side is Nanda Baitak and so forth. We saw the deities. Ashesha Vat, the place where Lord Shiva is being worshipped. Nice place. And where Shiva in his deity form as a gopi, similar to in Vangsivat. And then continuing going further west is Vrindavan. And that's it. That's the edge of the Braj Mandala. It's Rajasthan on the other side. So tomorrow, where should we go? It's a big place. So I was thinking we'll go to Brahmandagat, where Mother Jasoda looks inside Krishna's mouth. And Chir Ghat is not far from there, so we'll visit those two places. Any discussion or comments on the Leelas that we've heard? Krishna's an enjoyer. And it's full of variegatedness. There's no limit. Yeah.
The story.
Which one?
Otherwise, Nanda, Abhimanyu, I was talking about. Otherwise, your hair will chop.
Yeah.
And for Lord Shiva, that part I couldn't understand, because of they all are know about that. It's just only for saying, or what is that? They
Yeah, it's
are
only for-
lying to them, or something.
Only for saying. And with the explanation that if you falsely accuse someone, then you're culpable for that same act that you falsely accused them of. It's a principle, a dharmic principle. So based on that, because you were going to take Radharani from Vrindavan, but she's perfectly chaste. You accuse her of being not chaste, transcendentally perfectly chaste to Krishna, the so-called married. Anyway,
Just I'm
that's the
thinking,
reason.
they
So
also
your question is specifically,
yeah.
did they just make it up, or was it really going to happen? They made it up on the basis of if you falsely accuse, you're punishable.
Okay.
There's many such things they would say. So Jatila, we heard one yesterday. Jatila went to Bandiravan. There's Radha and Krishna. And she asks one of the gopis, I trust you. Please tell me what's going on here. And the gopi says, I'm telling you the truth. This is Subal, dressed like Radharani, because he has the same complexion. There's nothing else going on here. It's not true. There's Krishna and Radha. So you want to know, are they telling untruths? Yes. Kamsa wasn't going to come and cut off his head. That's your question specifically, right?
I mean, why they lying each other and then just making
That's
fun?
fun.
And yeah, that's making fun. I mean,
That's fun.
And another question is like that. Is anytime comes
It is a transcendental dimension of Krishna saying to Yudhisthira, say Abhimanyu is dead. Now, what's the justification? It's Krishna's asking. So when Krishna's asking, then the realm of morality that's guiding and ruling over all of us, there's the exception because Krishna says. And that's what you do. You do what Krishna says. Like, don't kill. But when Krishna says, then you do. Or so for the purpose of Radha and Krishna's transcendental pastimes, they're saying things that normally, it's not to be done. The rules that govern all of us, it's not to be done. And in the pastimes with Krishna, it's for the pleasure of Krishna, so it's done.
Yes. And another thing is that Rawalpindi, where Radharani lived, a Kamsa attack over there or no? I didn't know about that.
About Kamsa having an idea of the gopis?
Yeah, gopis.
We
he gave
discussed it
trouble
yesterday.
to them or no?
We discussed it yesterday.
Okay.
Shankachuda, that story. Shankachuda and Kamsa were in cahoots. It's in, I think it's in Garga Samhita, where Kamsa hears about the beautiful gopis. So he sends Shankachuda to bring the gopis to him from Mathura to Vrindavan to bring the gopis to him. So he comes under the order of Kamsa and scoots the gopis. It's a whole chapter in the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, ushering them away from their pastimes with Krishna and Balaram. And they start crying, protect us. We told this yesterday. So Krishna and Balaram took big sal trees, stripped them down, and started chasing Shankachuta with the tree trunk. He realized these fellows are powerful, so he left the gopis and ran for his life. Krishna caught him, and one sako he was finished. And Krishna took the jewel that was on his turban, which was in the shape of a conch, that's Shankachuta, and gave it to Balaram. So Shankachuta, Kamsa knew of the beauty of the gopis. Shankachuta was a messenger to try to bring the gopis to him. So Kamsa knew and was lusty and uncontrolled senses.
Thank you.
Something like Ravana.
Maharaj, thank you for wonderful class. I had one question that did ever Abhimanyu knew that who's Radharani? What is her position?
No. For pastime purposes, no. It is said, often said by our acharyas, Abhimanyu is Krishna's shadow. Now, he's personified, he's a person, but Krishna's shadow. And it is said, we read it, he didn't even touch one, yeah. He didn't, with his hand, he didn't touch Radharani ever. So, it's a pastime function to enhance Krishna's pastimes. That here's an obstacle. And there's, the obstacle is not just a person, but then the obstacle of morality, like his question. A young girl doesn't do things that the gopis did. Some of them were not married, some of them were married, some of them had children. And they left all of that because of their loving attraction for Krishna. So that's not to be done. And some people criticize, more or less criticize. Just look at this. You worshipping a debauchee. Rabindra Sarup Prabhu, you know who he is? Rabindra Sarup Prabhu. When he was in college doing his PhD, when his PhD professor found out that he had become a Hare Krishna devotee, he called him into his office, and and wanted to complain. Why are you worshiping a debauchee? And Rabindra was so angry. He said, "You're the debauchee." Because these are all living entities are Krishna's parts and parcels, and you're wanting to be the enjoyer of one of them as if she's yours to be enjoyed, but she belongs to Krishna, as does my wife belongs to Krishna. You're the debauchee. I mean, to his PhD professor. And, and gave scriptural references and so on. And it may not be retelling the story exactly as it happened, but that's what my memory says at the moment. It was very disturbing for him. So there's worldly morality and there's transcendental sense of what's to be done, what's not to be done. And it's another world. What's to be done, what's not to be done. Anything else?
Who is Chandravali, Maharaj? Like exactly.
Who is Chandravali?
Yes,
Chandravali.
yes, Maharaj.
Chandravali. She's one of Radharani's expansions. All the gopis are Radharani's expansions. She's one of them. And she's carrying another aspect. The aspect of she's called the leader of the right-wing gopis. The right-wing gopis means they're very obedient. The left-wing gopis means they talk back. They say contradictory things and And Krishna likes both, but he especially likes when Radharani talks back, because it's out of love. So she doesn't talk back. That's who she is. She's representing that feature of love.
Okay, so she's expansion of uh, Radharani. No?
All the gopis are expansions of Radharani. All the gopis are expansions of Radharani. All the Lakshmis are goddesses of fortune in the innumerable Vaikuntha planets. They're expansions of Radharani. All the queens in Vrindavan, they're expansions of Radharani. It's right in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And there's details and details to explain all of that. Just like Krishna has so many expansions, Radharani has many expansions. He's the primeval Lord, and she's the primeval internal potency, from whom many expansions come to make the fullness of everything. As Krishna expands, and there's living entities that have this mood and that mood and the other mood, it's all coming from Radha and Krishna.
But sometimes Radharani also scolds Krishna, like
Somehow what?
sometimes
She does what?
she angrily scolds.
Oh yeah, but Chandravali doesn't do that.
Okay, then what is the necessity of Chandravali? I didn't get like.
But there's variety. Everything is there in Krishna. All varieties of love are there in Krishna. Why have varieties? Ask that question. Why have varieties? Why do you need Chandravali for? Just do without her. There's variety. Prabhupada's explanation, very simple, like a little sutra. Variety is the mother of enjoyment. And Krishna enjoys unlimitedly, and she's part of his unlimited enjoyment. And then there's this so-called competition between Chandravali and Radharani and her group, and like Padma going and telling Jatila, it's just part of the rivalry that adds to the spiciness and flavor of Krishna's enjoyment. Krishna enjoys it.
But there is no rivalry between gopis, like all gopis want to.
There's a transcendental rivalry, but not an envious kind of rivalry. It's a different kind of rivalry. Everything is there, but it's transcendental. The rivalry is who will please Krishna. And Krishna's pleased, and yay, Krishna's been pleased. But not the other kind, not the mundane kind of rivalry. They come up with different ways and enjoy coming up with different ways. That kind of rivalry. Ways to please Krishna. But Radharani's at the center. No rivalry. It's a different world. Think of this. Way back when they were really small, and they're worshiping goddess Katyayani. This is a mind blower. They're all, however many there were, they're all offering the same prayer to goddess Katyayani. Let me have Krishna as my husband. And there wasn't any rivalry. They're all doing the same austerity, the same place, the same deity, the same everything, and the same prayer. That's not going to happen in the world. Two women have this desire for a certain person to be in a relationship with. It's rival. It's a mundane. It's different. Get used to it. Transcendental realm is different. Anything else? Okay.
Sometime like
The children are having a great time. You guys are sitting here very peaceful. Congratulations, you three. I don't know how you're doing it, but congratulations. Go ahead.
Maharaj, geographically, it looks like this. Some pastimes happened. This Leela Sthalis are far away from each other. So that time was also like that. I mean, you
How did
can
they
see.
get from one place to the other is your question?
Yeah, like Nandagram
Oh,
and Brahman Ghat is like far away. Looks
yeah,
like.
yes. Here's Prabhupada's answer. Vrindavan is like a lotus. Even the answer is puzzling. Vrindavan is like a lotus. Sometimes the lotus is open, and sometimes the lotus is closed. When the lotus is closed, the distances become less. That's Prabhupada's answer. They could move freely. They're not bound by the rules that you and I are bound by, in time or space or relationships or anything. There's a whole other set of rules. There's many such examples. Time and space examples. And both Vrindavan and Dwarka. Do you know how many bodyguards it's in the 10th canto Bhagavatam. How many bodyguards did King Ugrasena have? Does anybody here know the number? Something like 10 million bodyguards. That means that bodyguards. Then that means they have a wife, they have children, and they have a home. And that's just bodyguards. Where they fit? Where's this? How does the space can't accommodate that? Let's speak of who needs 10,000 bodyguards, or 10 million, 10 million bodyguards. And palaces. How are you going to, do the measurements? How many, whatever it is needed, square feet or whatever measurements for a palace, 16,000, and that's just him and his queens. And there's everybody else. Akshohini divisions of soldiers, and where does it all fit? This time and space don't work the same way in the spiritual realm. It's a different set of rules. We go, oh, come on. It's mythology. But it's not mythology. It's just a different set of rules. Have you been to Vrindavan? Okay. You know where Nandagram is. You saw the map. There's Nandagram. And where did the Kaliya Leela take place? It's right near where our temple is, yes. Kaliya Ghat. So to go from Nandagram to ISKCON temple, or ISKCON temple to Nandagram by taxi, how long does it take? 2.5, 3 hours. So in the morning, from Nandagram, the cowherd boys went all the way to the Kaliya Ghat, and they drank water from that lake. And then Krishna's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent for hours. Some messenger went back just to get there in the morning. And some messenger went back to tell Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda. And how long did that take? They didn't have a taxi. And then they came, and they saw Krishna in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. I mean, it doesn't work. So they have a different set of rules of time and space. The lotus opens and lotus closes. That's Prabhupada's answer. It's just, dimensions are not physical. Time and space are not physical, as we know it. You guys are great. Good going.
Britain had 10 quadrillion soldiers every 40 years.
10,000.
10 quadrillion.
10 quadrillion, excuse me.
Quadrillion is 1,000 million millions.
10 quadrillion. That's bodyguards.
100,000 times more than the population of the world today.
And Dwarka, which is an island. 10 quadrillion, that's the number? fiction. You want to go there? Then if you don't go there, if it's not fiction, then where are you going to go? It's a different set of rules. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki.